everyone, I hope you're well. It's October. I can't believe it's October already. So October is really Venus ruled. This is Libra season, well, until the 22nd or so anyway. And this October, Venus is going to be really active in a good way, which I think will help to bring some silver linings to what's likely to be quite a volatile month, certainly from an astrological point of view. Some are kind of billing this as being a kind of dark night of the soul for the collective again. And certainly the astrology does look very, potentially quite heavy, but also very transformative. I think what's happening is we're kind of shedding outer layers and getting more coherent within ourselves, coming into greater alignment within. And that's going to be helped by a Jupiter-Neptune sextile that happens around about the 12th or so of October, which is very, very magical. And as I say, Venus will be busy throughout the month really doing some fantastic, very positive stuff. So I thought this is the perfect opportunity to do a love reading. So let's get this party started. So once again, I've got my solar and lunar decks here, which represent the archetypal masculine and feminine energies. So, you know, I will just read these as if this was a more feminine energy and this was a more masculine energy, and we'll just see how the two interact. Obviously, these are not gender specific. It's more about energy, so, you know, identify with whichever person you prefer. So let's get started, first of all, with getting some context, just to find out where things are at the moment between these two people, and then we'll look at the sort of the future energies, and we'll clarify as well with some trinkets from the Magpie Oracle. All right, so let's see what's been going on. I think this time I'm actually going to start with, you know, this is the timeline leading up to where we are now. Interesting. So whoever this couple is, don't seem to be in contact at the moment. This is the Eight of Cups, but it's also the Moon in this particular deck, and so this is really about one or both people walking away from a connection. Maybe they feel dissatisfied, things haven't really panned out the way they'd hoped, their expectations haven't been met, and with the Moon here, there's a lot that's been unsaid, possibly not revealed. That's not to say that there are lies or deception. There could be. We'll see what else comes out, but there's certainly a lot that's not being revealed or is below the surface, shall we say. A lot of feelings, a lot of undercurrents, that kind of thing. Okay, but there does seem to be healing in the situation. This is the Star. So this is associated both with the Seven of Pentacles and the Star in this particular system. This is the playing card set, the Illuminated Playing cards by Keegan. So the Star usually points to divine guidance as well as healing. So I do feel as though this is potentially a couple that is in separation. They've gone their separate ways to heal. There's been, as I say, this dashing of expectations. Things haven't gone the way they planned or that they'd hoped. But now things are kind of in the mending stage. Maybe there's a little bit of healing, inner healing going on, which was possibly necessary. Maybe one or both had wounds that needed healing from the past that were affecting the way that they related. You know, there's all that stuff about triggering traumas, negative patterns that we've kind of picked up from the past. And I think it's very interesting going into this full moon in Aries that these kinds of issues are coming up, because there's a lot in this full moon energy that's about really, you know, it's self-empowerment in the sense of owning up to what's your stuff, what's other people's stuff, not projecting it onto other people. You know, Mars will be very close to Chiron, to Black Moon Lilith. The Moon will be next to Chiron. So I do feel like this is that kind of Moon Chiron energy that's very healing of emotional wounds, of unconscious, subconscious patterns where we self-sabotage. And that Mars Black Moon Lilith, I think, is perhaps also a contributing factor to this Moon, this Eight of Cups energy, where maybe we have deep-seated anger or resentment or frustration, perhaps due to either previous relationships or early programming with a parent, where, you know, there's a lot of resentment that we then project onto other people. And of course, this is not really going to bode well for relationships. So a good sign that you know, we're healing. And as I say, it's the perfect time for this, given that, you know, moving into this full moon energy. Okay, so moving into the present, we've got the Four of Diamonds. This is the Four of Pentacles. So a lot of people, including myself, read this in one of two ways. It can be about stability, so a need to kind of stabilize, potentially after an upsetting time, to kind of find our feet financially, to focus on foundations. But also sometimes it can be a little bit about rigidity, where we're a little bit stubborn or stuck. This can be seen as the sort of mini Emperor card. So, you know, the Emperor tends to want their own way. They can be quite stubborn when it comes to giving way or compromising. So I think that there's potentially a little bit of a stalemate going on in the way that that things are panning out, you know, externally, but internally I think there's a lot of healing going on, a lot of shifting, and I think that maybe guides are helping to move people into a place that's potentially a bit more flexible, where we're kind of open to negotiation. But anyway, let's see what's going on in terms of the psyche of each of the individuals. Interesting. So this person on the left, the feminine energy, is kind of feeling a bit stuck emotionally at the moment, and I think it fits, you know, with this Four of Pentacles energy. There's a sense of possibly feeling triggered. There could be some fears here, some addictions that need to be worked through, and I think here the Star is, you know, really helping people to break free from their addictions. That's certainly been a theme since the Venus retrograde, where people are really becoming aware of where perhaps they have some addictive behavior, where they tend to go into denial and not really see the truth of a connection, or where they may repeat patterns because of codependency, for example, or simply look outside, you know, of oneself to relationships to sort of fix problems that really need to be healed, you know, internally first, sort of thing. So using relationships as a kind of band-aid, when really we need to have sort of two whole people coming together, you know, to sort of form a coherent connection, rather than think that a connection is going to sort of do that for us, you know. So I think this person is a little bit triggered, possibly realizing that maybe they have got a few issues around bondage, attachment, that kind of thing. Let's see what's going on below the surface. Interesting. Okay, so kind of below the surface, what's not being said, or, you know, maybe where this Eight of Cups energy is coming from, is this person wants a reciprocal kind of connection, where there's an equal give and take, where they don't feel so I mean, possibly breadcrumbs. Sometimes this could be a breadcrumbing card, where, you know, one person makes sort of like an offer but then doesn't really follow through. I think this card has come up before with the feminine energy. So I do feel that as though this person wants more even give and take. They may not realize that they potentially overgive. That could certainly be an issue. We'll clarify with the trinkets. But that's certainly subconsciously what they're kind of aiming for. So let's have a look at this person. Okay, so here we've got the I think it's the Knight of Cups, which is really romantic energy. This is watery energy, and it's associated with somebody who wants to offer their cup of love, who's quite romantic, who you know, and that can sometimes border on the unrealistic, you know, unrealistic expectations, maybe because of over idealizing somebody, for example, or again looking to a relationship to sort of heal wounds rather than do inner work. So that can also be a possibility, but it's still, this person is sincere. This masculine energy is very sincere in wanting to offer a cup of love to the other person. Yeah, okay, so subconsciously I feel like this is what this person is picking up on. So we've got the Ace of Cups in reverse, and this suggests that even though this person may have good intentions, this masculine energy, in terms of offering the cup of love is currently spilt, it's upside down, and that often suggests a lack of self-love, that there's a need for internal balancing, so that, you know, you have to kind of fill your own cup before you can offer it to other people. It has to kind of overflow. So it's possible that this masculine energy here needs to do a little bit of work on filling up the cup, on self-love, on self-acceptance, you know, so that there can be more balance here with regards to emotions, so that this energy doesn't feel as though they are doing all the work and kind of overcompensating for somebody who maybe isn't that self-aware. That's what I'm kind of feeling. Okay, so yes, I think this person has withdrawn a little bit. They've taken their energies back because they realize that the connection as it is at the moment is not really very healthy, and maybe that's why there's been somebody kind of walking away, because they feel as though, you know, some healing needs to take place, you know, particularly in this person. But you know, that's not to say that, you know, this person doesn't also need to heal in the sense of overgiving. You know, possibly they need to ask themselves why they've been drawn to a connection where they don't feel that there's reciprocity. And they seem to be doing that because we've got the Nine of Pentacles here, which is the card of being single and being self-sufficient on one hand, but also seeking guidance within. This is the Hermit as well. So they could be seeking guidance from their internal lantern, their internal, you know, their sort of higher self, to try and find a way forward. Okay, then, yeah. Okay, so this person is quite heartbroken. They don't possibly understand why the other person has withdrawn their energy, possibly a little bit perplexed, maybe missing the other party. So I feel as though perhaps this person hasn't yet realized that they may be a little bit unrealistic in terms of their expectations, that they may want a connection with somebody but perhaps aren't 100% ready. Okay, so before I have a look at the energy going forward, let's just clarify with some trinkets, just to find out more about what's going on here. So these are trinkets from the Magpie Oracle, which is designed by a friend of mine, Carrie Paris. And they work mainly with the Lenormand symbols, but I also kind of get intuitive hits just based on the symbolism of the object. Alright, so let's have one first of all for this this person here, the Divine Feminine Energy. Okay, so here we've got the Clover, which is all about luck, about divine timing. So I think this person realizes that although in the past things perhaps weren't quite in alignment, I think they're hoping that with time that this will change. So I think that should give the masculine energy on this side a little bit of hope. All right. So for the masculine energy here, we've got the lily. This is the fleur de lis, which represents the lily for me in the Lenormand system. And for me, I associate this with not just purity, but also with maturity, with the sort of wisdom that comes with experience. So perhaps this person here is a little bit young, or has got some growing up or some learning to do. Perhaps they're a little bit naive or inexperienced when it comes to relationships, and this could explain why we've got the Ace of Cups in reverse. So I do feel as though, you know, they may be a little bit heartbroken, but it's possibly because there's something that they're not realizing that they need to sort of give themselves in order for, you know, things to kind of come into alignment. So let's pull a trinket for the Six of Pentacles here. Okay, so we've got the ship, and this is usually about a journey or a voyage. Now this can be about a shift, you know, an internal shift that needs to happen, or it could be about a physical journey. Perhaps these two people are separated by distance, but certainly, you know, this person does want there to be movement, I think, towards the Six of Pentacles energy. So moving towards something that's more equal and reciprocal is what this person is hoping for. Okay, so interesting. For the Ace of Cups here, we've got the fish, and for me this is about two things. First of all, I associate this with the cat. So this can be about somebody feeling as though they've met their soulmate, the one, and the person they really want to be with. But again, there is a sense of, having to fill one's own cup. You know, I also associate this with the I Ching pigs and fishes, which is about inner riches that then leads to outer abundance. So I think this person does really need to kind of fill their own cup before they have something to offer the person on the left. So let's have one now for those top cards. Okay, so yes, so the feminine energy on the left does want to sort of, you know, does want to reconcile. This is Puella for me in geomantic terms, so it's Venus. So it's all about somebody that wants compromise, harmony, you know, to kind of come back into union with the other person. They do want good relations. So it's just a question of, I suppose, quality over quantity, that they would rather wait, you know, for things to perhaps get into a more balanced state before, you know, they kind of offer themselves or open themselves up again in the future, because I think they are aware of the fact that there could be a codependency issue here, you know, perhaps on both sides, that can get in the way of a sort of a healthy to and fro kind of energy. Right, so here we've got the garden, and the garden for me is largely about kind of public, our public face, or about communal settings, you know, not just literally the garden where people obviously meet, you know, which are usually public spaces, but also things like online forums, social media, that kind of thing. So my feeling is that this person feels a little bit embarrassed or humiliated, possibly rejected, and so they kind of feel as though they've lost face a little bit. So that sounds like a little bit of hurt pride, and I can kind of understand, you know, why this person is maybe withdrawn a little bit. Perhaps this is that Four of Pentacles energy expressed in a sort of prideful way, and you know, I think that possibly, you know, this person is still going through a period of healing and realization, because the star can also be about, you know, kind of inner clarity and, you know, realizing a few things in order for things to progress forward. But let's see where things are heading. Okay, so interesting. So we've got the Three of Pentacles here, and it's in reverse. So this is usually a card about setting foundations, about working together with others, cooperation, all that kind of stuff. And what I'm seeing here is that this Four of Pentacles energy means that there's perhaps a bit of a standoff. There's maybe a bit of stubbornness going on, possibly due to, you know, hurt pride, that you know, one or both parties may be kind of saying, well, you know, I don't really feel like the other person is willing to do what it takes, or to sort of make the first move, so I'm not going to either. There's this sort of can be kind of tit for tat energy, but there's a sense of not being willing or kind of cooperative energy, and that's not really going to move things forward. So perhaps some more healing needs to sort of take place. That's kind of in the recent past. Right now in the present, kind of moving into the future, we've got the Eight of Wands. So this is about swift movement forward, about progress, communication, travel. So again, this ship here could be about physical travel, but certainly communication does look as though it will resume in the near future. We will pull some trinkets to clarify, but yes, this does look as though there may be a little bit of momentum after stalemate. Now here we've got the Four of Swords, which is kind of the where things are headed in the immediate future. So this sort of the outcome, but in the short term. So this is, you know, over the next 2 weeks or so. And here we've, you know, the Four of Cups is really about not seeing something. So you can see that we've got these 3 vases of flowers where the flowers have all kind of wilted, they've died. But here is a 4th vase, which is just out of the line of vision. This person can't see that an offer is kind of coming in. So I think what this kind of means is that, you know, this person may want to sort of come forward again with an offer, and this person may be kind of losing hope and thinking, well, this is never really going to happen. or vice versa. You know, this person may be kind of heartbroken and feel as though this person on the left, the feminine energy, doesn't really love them, but it's not true. It's just, I think, a question of perception, that certain perceptions have to shift in order for things to come into alignment. So this is, for me, about shifting the way that one perceives a situation. You know, for instance, saying to oneself, what can I do to shift the situation? And very often this is about an internal shift, so moving into a state of gratitude, a state of grace. And you know, that's definitely possible during October, as I said, because of that Jupiter-Neptune sextile that happens on, I think, about the 12th. So this is the third and final pass of this aspect, which happened in February and again, I think in July. So there's a real opportunity here for things to sort of heal and resolve themselves, but I do think that it will take a shift of perception, possibly on both sides, and move away from the stubborn, prideful kind of energy. You know, people feel like it's my way or the highway, to something that's a little bit more compromising, where both parties are willing to sort of meet the other halfway, which is very much about the Six of Pentacle energy. So let's pull a few triggers just to kind of clarify. Interesting. So for the Three of Pentacles, we've got the Star, and so this is about getting clarity. It's about seeing things and also having faith that you know, even though things may not be moving forward right now and maybe in a bit of a stalemate, that you know, the situation can change. This is also for me a reiteration of this Star card that we've got here at the top, and just kind of saying, you know, do some praying, maybe talk to your higher self, and really sort of ask for guidance, you know, in this matter, and that can really help to sort of shift things forward. Right, I'm just going to move that up a little bit so we've got room for our trinkets. Oopsie, so two have come out. Interesting. Okay, so we've got the cross, and we've also got the anchor. So for me, this is about needing to kind of put down burdens. The cross is often about suffering, and I think that it reiterates this Three of Cups, the Three of Swords energy that we've got at the top here. And then the anchor can be one of two things. It can be about stability, so it's the situation stabilizing, but it can also be about wanting security, wanting you know, not necessarily being willing to sort of move. So it can be about stubbornness, you know, this Four of Pentacles energy. So again, I think it points to potential codependence on one hand, and a need to let go of that, and also a need to let go of stubbornness, you know, in order for things to move forward, because the Eight of Wands is all about, you know, progress and momentum. So I think we need to kind of lift up the anchor and drop burdens, which to me also points to this Four of Cups energy. So interesting, we've got the mountain here. This is, I know it looks like a pyramid, but it's meant to sort of represent a mountain. So this can be about delays. So it's possible that there's a sense here of things not moving as fast as either party would like, and that's possible certainly with a four. Fours can be a little bit slow moving. This is, you know, this is kind of earth energy, so it's about stabilizing before moving forward. And so I think maybe what it's kind of saying is both parties need to sort of find their center again, their equilibrium, their balance, you know, before things can progress further. So again, I feel as though that that full moon energy perhaps needs to be worked through until we get to the new moon, which is in Libra, and you know, perhaps at that point, you know, things can then kind of move forward. So perhaps this waning moon cycle that we're moving into on the 1st of October is necessary. The 2 weeks that follow are necessary to shed certain behaviors, to do some healing, and to stabilize internally before things can kind of progress moving forward. All right, so let's get some advice from the Universe Has Your Back deck. quite stubborn energy in the cards. It's quite interesting. Okay. Right. So attack, pain, fear, judgment, and any form of separation are merely calls for help. That's very interesting, actually. For me, it talks of this Three of Swords energy, where it's possible that the person may have been, maybe this masculine energy here got a little bit triggered when they felt rejected and they said some not very nice things, possibly in the public domain, which is why we've got the garden here. And this has really sort of hurt the feminine energy and she's withdrawn, which is why we've got the Hermit here. So I think this is kind of saying that the feminine needs to perhaps just exercise a little bit of compassion and realize that this was not sort of meant sincerely, that it was more just a kind of a lashing out, although there's no excuse really for kind of speaking out of turn. I think we need to sort of always just take a beat before we say anything, because words do wound. So that's interesting. Let's pull a couple of trinkets on this. So a long and drawn out situational process. Maybe one person feels betrayed by the other one. That's certainly a possibility. Okay, but nice. We've got the bouquet, and this is all about a kind of an offer. So this could be an apology, maybe with some flowers. It could be some kind of overture that is meant from the heart, that's positive. So I do feel as though, these two people can potentially reconcile, certainly be friends if nothing else. But I think what it's going to require is a little bit of healing and an overcoming of stubbornness, and I think that will mean listening more internally. That perception shift that I was talking about here, represented by the star, in both cases, that they just, I think a little bit of moving out of bratty energy, and that can be, Aries, when it is negatively aspected, can be a little bit bratty, and so maybe this is also that Mars conjunction with Black Moon Lilith that I was talking about at this full moon, where it can make people kind of act out and be a little bit immature. So I just think that's something to sort of be aware of, that to do that might feel good in the short term, but ultimately you're going to shoot yourself in the foot long term. You're not really going to sort of endear yourself to anybody if you just sort of lash out. I think it's important to work through feelings, and just realize where they come from, because very often we're projecting outward what is a problem that began sort of internally. So yeah, that's interesting. I think what I'd like to do now is just pull one more trinket, just as a kind of overall, especially if we think about that star energy. Wonderful. So we've got the birds here, which is, I love this little token. It's 2 owls and a heart. So I think what it's saying is, talking things out. You can kind of sort the situation out if you come from the position of the heart, if you're kind of heart-centered, and that involves being wise. So I think it's sort of reiterating, first of all, the lily here, so a little bit of wisdom and maturity, and also this Hermit card here, which is about seeking wisdom from one's higher self. So acting from your sort of higher self rather than from your kind of lower triggered inner child. For example, the wounded child is really important, and there is certainly a possibility that this person also has a few things to work through when it comes to that. So yes, but I think dialogue is a nice way to end this reading, and I think it's very in keeping with that Moon Chiron conjunction, which is all about healing in the heart space. And of course Mercury is moving into Scorpio just before this particular full moon, so that also involves shifting the way that one communicates to a more deep, sincere level that's rooted in truth. So yeah, I think people can always sense when you're being sincere, when you're kind of coming from a place of truth, even if what you have to say isn't always that pleasant. People respect you more for being honest than if you kind of come in, you know, with sort of poetry and flowers, and it's not really entirely well meant kind of thing. So I hope that's been helpful. Do let me know in the comments if it's resonated, and what I may do certainly during October, because it is so relationship focused, is I may do one of these readings once a week, and just to sort of check in and see where things are, because, you know, don't forget this is, you know, only a kind of 2-week reading. So I think we'll kind of check in. We've got three major moon phases this particular month. We've got a blue moon at the end of October on Halloween, actually. So we've got one on the 1st, one on the 31st, book ending, so 2 full moons, and then in the middle we've got that new moon in Libra. So I think maybe what I'll do is love readings for each of those 3 lunar phases, because of course the moon is all about emotions. So yeah, okay, so all the best, and I'll catch you again soon.